I want to switch gears. Let's talk about things that actually cause injuries. All I'm ever going to tell you are the facts. Every fact or every data point that I give you or statement that I present is based in data. It's based in research. It's based on something that we've been able to observe and repeat. A risk factor is just something that contributes to injury. It doesn't mean it's a one-for-one. If you do this thing or if you have this thing, that is going to cause injury, but it does increase your percentage likelihood of being injured. Here are some fixable risk factors, some things that we can address for baseball players to help reduce their risk of injury. Bad shoulder flexibility, bad shoulder strength and shoulder strength and overall strength, bad throwing mechanics, pitching over 100 innings per year. Those are all things that we can address to help prevent further injury in baseball players. Here are more. Training more than 16 hours per week. That's a risk factor for children. We're talking youth, so like 13U. High pitch counts. Everybody has seen the MLB pitch counts. And if you notice, it's not just the high pitch counts specifically, it's the high pitch counts with minimal rest time or minimal downtime. You shouldn't throw 4 or 5 innings, turn around the next day and throw another 2 to 3 innings, especially if you're still 14, 15 years old. Another risk factor, again, don't shoot the messenger, playing on multiple leagues and teams. The last one that I really encourage people to pay attention to, playing catcher and playing pitcher is a risk factor for injury too. What about some sort of fixable, not really fixable risk factors for injury? So high pitch velo, if a kid throws really hard, naturally that's going to lead to more injuries. And if they have a history of pain and they haven't done anything about it, that is a risk factor for injury. If a kid's ever had quote unquote little league elbow or shoulder, they have a younger skeleton in general. Can't change anything about being younger, but we can help some of the stuff we talked about before, where we can touch on strength, managing pitch counts. We can touch on how much they play throughout the year. And something that I didn't put in here, recommendation from MLB, is any pitcher 18 and younger, MLB recommends actually shutting them down from baseball for 4 straight months out of the year. They recognize it's probably not going to happen, but in Colorado, it's doable. Not play baseball or throw a baseball for 4 months out of the year. But that's a recommendation from MLB directly. They think these kids should be taking longer breaks. We'll get to workload management and all that sort of stuff. And the last thing that I'll say is specialization. When you specialize early, that's also a risk factor for injury. We also know that that leads to a ton of burnout. We don't want these kids to get burnt out, and that's exactly what we're doing to them. It's a huge percentage of these players before they turn 14, they quit the game, and a lot of them cite in these surveys that you look at is because they were burnt out on the game. Again, we don't want to make baseball not fun. We want these kids to fall in love with the game, and we don't want to put too much pressure on them. The last thing I'll say, when I went to a conference with Dr. Andrews, one of the sports medicine pioneers, frankly, he was on this panel and they asked him if a kid in a family really wants to specialize. And this person who was asking the question pinned him down, because if it were up to Dr. Andrews, no kid would specialize in a sport. They'd be playing sports all the way through their senior year, different sports. But they pinned him down. And he said, if I had to choose the age that a teenager specializes in a sport, not just baseball, he said, I would want them to be at least 16 years old. So food for thought. These are all some myths that are not on the list of things that cause injury and or they're myths. The one that I really want to hammer on is icing. I think most parents and athletes have good intentions, and I'll touch on it very briefly. When you ice a joint from a physiological perspective, theoretically, what we think it does is it stops or reduces the blood flow in the area. Let me give you an example. You get a paper cut. You get a paper cut, and what happens is your body's immune system naturally sends more white blood cells to that area. And what happens is it also sends cells that are going to start to clot the area. Now, what we're thinking when we throw an ice pack on something is we are basically trying to stop or delay that process, because that process also comes with pain. And so naturally, what do you think? Like, oh, well, I'm going to stop the pain. We're also indirectly stopping the healing process. Now, ice is probably not going to stop your body's natural internal processes. We know it doesn't. And if it's something like a cold plunges actually reduce your body's ability to heal. So is that what we're trying to do? Do we want to reduce healing time, or do we want to increase healing time? Now, we'll get to what you can do instead. But again, icing, not so much the answer. We'll get to all of these, but the one that I want to focus on is injury prevention. Because most of the time what I hear or what I see in our practice is that injury prevention is expensive. Frankly, I understand. They've already spent $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 on baseball, which is to me an outrageous number. So they don't want to spend more. And I get it. But I'm begging you to look at it from this perspective. Health and arm care and maintenance is just the rent that you pay to be able to continue to play this game. That should be the foundation of your planning. That should be the foundation of your development plan. That should be the foundation of, quite frankly, your budget. Even if it's not with us, I'm obviously biased. I want you to come with us. But if it's not with us, arm care and maintenance should be the foundation. At the very top, you'll see the least important that cannot stand on its own are the games and the tournaments and the showcases. If we start to view it from this lens, then I think we'll start to be able to solve this problem that we've seen. Now, again, I know you're going to tell me injury prevention's expensive. Physical therapy is expensive. I want to take you through an actual family's cost when their baseball player was injured, keeping in mind that they used their insurance and they had already met their deductible. I want to repeat that they had already met their deductible. Imaging cost them about $400. The specialist cost them about $140. And the PT initially, before they got to us, the physical therapy that was covered by their insurance was about $550 for 10 visits, and it didn't help the kid at all. In total, that's about you're out another $1,100 and your kid still has arm pain. So I think what we're talking here is a price versus a cost. It costs you to play in these tournaments. It costs you to travel. And when an athlete is injured, it costs you to find out what's going on and fix it. That's the cost. But the price is more missed games. The price is money you've spent out the window already on tournaments you can't get back, the hotel that you're not going to get to use, the flights that you're going to have to abandon or transfer. That's the price of an injury. Now, if we're looking at cost, sure, it's not cheap. But relatively speaking, if you've already met your deductible, it's still going to run you somewhere in this neighborhood at the time of this recording, about $1,100. I'll tell you this, here at Pro Athlete Physical Therapy, this is about the cost to get you through a season, but at least you will have budgeted for it and you won't miss your flights. You won't have that sunken cost and that money that you're going to lose up front if your athlete stays healthy. If you haven't met your deductible, this could easily and probably will easily double. And if you have dealt with it, you're nodding your head right now and you know it's expensive. So what is the solution? Of course, I'm going to tell you Armcare with Pro Athlete Physical Therapy. But I think that's also a very vague term that we can't quite pinpoint. And for us at Pro Athlete Physical Therapy, it includes more than what I'm about to show you. But I think that tangibly, most people are able to see it, visualize it, and understand it better if they sort of see what it looks like in action. But what we do is we pride ourselves on being more educational. We're going to teach kids how much they should be eating. How much protein should you have? How much water should you be drinking? How much should you be sleeping? Should you throw a pen on Tuesday and then a game on Wednesday and then practice with another pen on Thursday? Probably not. How do you manage your stress? Are you getting your homework done? Are you managing being an athlete? Because being an athlete is a job. And these kids are still growing and developing, and we want to teach them what it takes to get to the next level. So what is it? Injury risk programs, obviously, that's going to include exercise. We're going to help them with their strength and conditioning. If they need a program, we can get them on one. If not, we can find you somebody that we trust. It's all the stuff that you see too on Instagram, like the compression boots and the hot tubs, the ice tubs, the dry needling, the cupping. You're going to get all of that, but just understand that's a very small part of what we do. So what's it look like? The biggest thing that you'll see here in the middle and to the right, this is one of my pro guys. We're taking his Armcare numbers. And if some of you might have already seen this, a lot of you haven't. These numbers tell us a lot about where you stand from a strength perspective. And these numbers are going to tell us where to take your program. Like I said, the needles and the cups, that's the flashy stuff that everybody likes. But what a physical therapist does at our core, what we do is we help you stay strong, we help you stay flexible, and we help you manage your workload so that you're not doing too much too soon. And we help build your capacity to be able to play as much baseball as you want within reason. What's up? It's me again. If you've already gotten a bunch of value from the free bonuses and the handouts and even through the lectures right now, like I told you before, we're not going to run any ads or any commercials. We just ask that you please share this link, share this course with somebody and you have in mind, a teammate, a friend, a college, a co-parent, somebody who you think would benefit from this training. That would be extremely beneficial. So now that that's out of the way, let's get into the important stuff. We're eventually going to get into arm care. We're going to get into exercises and what it looks like, stuff like that. But we're going to start with sleep, because without sleep, we quite literally cannot develop as athletes.